Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to your community service program hosted by yours truly, Victor Trevino. Got a great show for you tonight. We're going to jump right into it. But before we introduce our very special guest, can you believe it's already Easter just around the corner? So I just want to wish all of y'all to have a happy Easter. Make sure all the little ones have a lot of fun. Be safe, but also something very important. The roads will be very busy. Please drive very safely. And if you choose to consume alcohol, definitely have a designated driver. We want it to be a happy Easter. So one thing you can do is always have a designated driver. Even if you just say, I'm just going to have one drink, one beer, have a designated driver. Have a safe Easter, and especially for all the little ones, have a happy Easter. We've got a very, as you can tell by the back, what's behind me, the Stop the Bullying, an ongoing challenge that we have, not just in our community, but as a society all throughout the world. But here in Houston, Harris County, we have the expert that can, discuss with us. And what we want from you is to share this conversation. What can we do as a whole? Because, again, I don't think that the bullying issue is just a police problem. It's a society problem that all of us as a society, as a community, we need to embrace, to understand, so we can be proactive and not just wait till tragedy occurs. So let me begin by introducing our very special guest, Mr. Guadalupe Valderes, Assistant Principal, Anderson Elementary. Thank you for being here.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Andrew Harper, MD, Dr. Harper, Medical Director of the University of Texas. Is it Harris County Psychiatric Center?
That's correct.
Thank you, Doctor, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And also Jason Olson, Professional Wrestling Referee for the Booker T Reality of Wrestling.
Thank you.
Well, I think we've got a good diversity in terms from a school teacher, a doctor, and a professional referee for wrestling. Bullying is a subject that I guess has been around for a while, but in case some of y'all may not remember, I do. We didn't think it was bullying back then.
Right.
You either had to stand your ground or run fast.
That is true.
And I don't want to belittle the subject, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to be upfront with you. I've been around for a while. And for those of us that have been around, I don't want us to, look at it that way. We've made a lot of changes. We have to learn, no matter what age we are. We have to address the needs of the present and not live with what we used to do in the past and how we dealt with it. We have to be very respectful, very conscientious about what our youngsters, not just youngsters, even at any age. You could have senior citizens going to a senior center and have a bullying situation. You can get on the internet and have a bullying situation. You can go to work and have managers or bosses that are bullying. And we need to be respectful of the fact that this is a reality in our day and time. But as a school teacher, what have you seen in terms of the educational environment, and how does bullying relate to that kind of environment?
As far as the education, I know that for us in the Houston Independent School District, we have a zero tolerance. I know that our district focuses a lot on when we have 6 goals that we look at, and one of them, the primary one, is student achievement. But then at the same time, student achievement is always tied into a safe environment that is conducive to learning. So that's why, we one of the core values that we have is safety above all. And it's very critical for us to take a zero tolerance stance due to the fact that if we're going to have high scores and we're going to have real productive students, we need them there. And when bullying is present, you'll see that if you look at the data, there's going to be like 160,000 students that will skip school each day. And it's kind of sad to hear that. And I know that, like you were saying, that in the past we didn't call it bullying, but now we have that term out there, so we do look for it. And like I was saying, in education, it does affect the environment, and it does affect the child as a whole.
Well, I just want us as a community, ladies and gentlemen, to understand that what we consider back in the old days, that it was not a big deal, that for us not to think it's not a big deal today. I just want us to be conscious of that. I mean, for that matter, we can go back and say, I remember when we used to ride horse and buggy. We didn't have the automobiles. We didn't have seatbelts. We made a lot of adjustment changes. This subject is very delicate. It's very sensitive, but it's very real. It affects lives, and I think we need to be conscious of that. So we do need your help, and I thank you for inviting us into your home so that we can share this conversation. Now, you know, Mr. Olson, as a professional wrestling referee, I mean, how do you see the issue of bullying?
To be honest with you, I can't stand seeing it. I hate seeing the effects that bullies have on their surrounding students. From my point of view, I don't agree with it at all. I mean, I feel so bad for these kids. And having myself gone through quite a bit whenever I was younger, all I can say is, it's not about the kid. It's not about me. It's about something going on with that bully. And I think we all need to look at bullies from a different perspective.
How did you deal with it as a youngster?
Myself, I was very introverted. You probably can't tell by my occupation now, but I was a very shy kid, and I had a funny sounding last name, and kids constantly picked on me, and really made me feel bad about myself a lot, and I kind of withdrew. But I had a real good friend of mine tell me I could either let those experiences build me or break me. And I chose to build something out of myself and kind of move past it. And I just want any kid that's out there now to know that just hold on. It does get better. It really, really does.
So our challenge, you know, from the mental perspective is to see if that youngster can develop that attitude that you develop, because unfortunately sometimes some youngsters may not.
Right.
And I think that's the challenge for us as a society, that youngster doesn't develop the approach to deal with it in a positive way, or that actually the bullies leave him alone or leave her alone, but continue to be more aggressive, whether it's verbally or physically. So that's the challenge I see as a society, whether it's on the internet or personally, that, you know, of course, some of us may say, you know, I'm not going to let nobody push me around. Even if they knock me down, I mean, I'm going to get back up and say, do you want some more? And I'm already been beaten up. But that's not the way everybody is. Right. And we have to be respectful of that as a society. Absolutely. And I think that's where you as a community, ladies and gentlemen, have to understand that's the challenge. We can't say, oh, I want you to be like me. Why aren't you like me? You know, stand up for yourself. That is the wrong approach. That is very inconsiderate. And not a healthy approach also, because we're not being respectful of the individual. So that's why I think, you know, maybe in your field, you know, Dr. Harper, you've seen the challenges mentally from what some people consider so simple to say, can't you develop the right attitude? I mean, you know, Mr. Olson did it. I did it. Why can't all kids do it?
Well, I think there are a variety of factors. I mean, different kids have different levels of resiliency. Some people who are victimized by bullies may not have any support outside of the home or the family or their caretaking environment. They may actually be bullied at home as well as at school. And I think sometimes bullies are very adept at kind of picking out individuals who are not going to fight back, are not going to be the kids that stand up to them. And that are maybe perceived as different in some way. Maybe they're a little bit shyer, maybe they have a disability, and they look for those outliers. And then they pick. It's about dominance. It's about being in control. And so they look for people that are not going to push back.
So that would be what the bullier looks for.
Right.
Is an individual they feel is vulnerable.
Right.
Both mentally and physically, maybe.
Right. But it's also interesting, there's sort of a third party in bullying, and that's the bystander, the person that's kind of watching, or the system that, not intentionally maybe, but that doesn't sort of take care of it. And I think that's where schools have really been important in stepping up, and it kind of, going back to something you said at the beginning, it's a system kind of problem that everybody has to participate.
And I think what's difficult also, and I'll be the first to admit it, what's difficult to distinguish is the fact that, you know, if my kid comes home or my grandchild comes home from school and says, this boy called me names, how do we distinguish it and say, is that really bullying or is that a growing pain that we have to, as a community, understand how to tell our little grandson or little child how to deal with it where it's not bullying? When do we really, have bullying, and when this is just part of growing up in life, or as grown-ups for one reason or another? I mean, you hear the news and you have these road rage, and all of a sudden, they get out and going to fight and shoot each other. Or you have, this suspect that goes into a synagogue and starts shooting up places and does it in the name of Heil Hitler. Is that just a reality also that we have to deal with as a society? That you have these individuals out there that no matter what we do, we're vulnerable. And anybody can jump in. I mean, I know we got, I'm sorry, I'm throwing in, any of y'all can jump in, because I'm not trying to put y'all on the spot. What I want from you at home is to think about that. If we watch the news, usually on the Victor Trevino show, the breaking news you see is about great people doing great things. But news, ladies and gentlemen, is based on just the drama, the unfortunate hype, the unfortunate tragedy. Of course, you can do it in the name of, we want to bring you the news, breaking news. When have you ever seen breaking news to be, let me tell you, this young child just got, the so-and-so award. Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. That's not breaking news. Breaking news is a tragedy. Someone got killed. Someone got run over. That's breaking news. So our society has to live with that reality, and how do we distinguish it is the challenge that I hope that maybe we can elaborate more, because you're an elementary assistant principal, and I think maybe that's where it starts for us to instill in our youngsters that what I think Mr. Olson was talking about earlier, that ability to be able to be resilient.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, I know that for a fact that, in looking at the data and through the experiences, that I've noticed that, it does increases, in the elementary. It starts there, and it peaks at middle school, and it kind of tails down at the high school level. But at the same time, the verbal abuse continues on, and it's constant the whole time. And I'm pretty sure that your experience was bad, because I experienced mine. I had my experience also when I was in elementary. I went through it, and of course, I kind of started to dislike the educational setting, because I knew that I always had to face those bullies, and it was always after school. And I know that in looking at some of the stats, I see that 33% of it will occur in the classroom, and of course 46% will occur in the hallways. And I know that most of the bullying that we see at our campus is going to be it happens a lot in the restrooms, where the teachers cannot go in and monitor. But it's real, and it's out there, and I know that our public is very educated now, and it seems like each time that we get a complaint, they always try and use that word. So for us, we have to really do the investigation, and we have to look for keywords and events to be able to say, okay, this is a bully case, and then we have to follow through, report it, and go through the whole process.
I think what you're looking for is a pattern. So I think the statistics I'm aware of is that maybe half or more of kids have at least one incidence of some kind of bullying behavior, but it's the group that's persistently targeted and persistently picked on. Those are the ones that sort of have the long-term problems.
And I think we do want to elaborate more on that, but we have a caller right now. Should we go to? Okay, let's put her on. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Marcy. My name is Victor Trevino. We have some special guests on the show. Just to introduce you to them, we have Mr. Valderas, is an assistant principal at a local elementary named Anderson Elementary. We have Mr. Andrew Harper, Dr. Harper. He's the medical director of the University of Texas Harris County Psychiatric Center. Then we have Mr. Jason Olson. He's a professional wrestling referee for the Booker T Reality of Wrestling. So we do want to share with you what our concern is, but we really want to hear from you. We want to congratulate you for your endeavors, also for the book that you wrote, Giraffe Juice. But give us your perspective on bullying.
Well, thank you for opening up this topic and just allowing the community to just be more aware, because that's what's really important. And as far as my experience, when I had been an educator, the year was 1999 in Austin, and I was unfortunately aware of one of the grade school students that had just turned 12 that took her life because of bullying. And the situation was that she was quite a bigger, boned young girl. She was also quite artistic and may have been considered a black sheep. And so this is what had occurred at that time. And as an artist, I went to film school at the University of Texas, and I wanted to make a difference with the film that I was making, and I dedicated the film Sweetwater that I made to this young girl, Caitlin McIntosh. And then further along, I began to study compassionate communication, and Marshall Rosenberg is a doctor that has come up with a model of communication, nonviolent communication, compassionate communication. I'd studied with him, and he suggested that I write a book for young people. He had written a book on compassionate communication, and that was for adults and nothing for young people, and I wanted to make a difference. And so, being that I had seen other instances, I myself had gone through bullying as a young child just because I moved from one city to another city, and I wore shoes that looked different than everyone in my classroom at the time. There are various stories I hear from my students at this time. So Giraffe Juice, the book that I wrote, I co-wrote with J.P. Allen, addresses bullying, and it's told in a way that is a lighthearted story whereby one can learn the model of communication in 4 steps, so that if a bully is confronting you, it's a way to dialogue that is empowering to the individual. So that's a little bit about Giraffe Juice and my background.
Well, again, congratulations, and I have seen where you founded Empower, that life skill program for young people that focuses on the compassionate communication through performance and music. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, it's been very rewarding, because what I'm able to do is, in a classroom setting, allow the students to create an environment that actually occurs in their daily lives. If in fact it's between a parent and a child, their parent, or in fact they just want to refer to an event that happened between another student and themselves, and we role play. And by incorporating the model of communication, the young people can learn how to confront this using conflict resolution skills. So we're able to act it out in an improvisational setting, and that's what Empower does in after-school programs, and I'm working also with homeschoolers.
Tell me also the challenge that we have as a society now with the technology that we have, and the fact that you also have that type of aggressive behavior on the internet or through Facebook or through even Twitter.
Well, again, I'm very grateful that you're bringing this to the attention. I know I'm in good company with your guests, and they're all making a difference based on their experience and their intention also. And being that we now are in a more complex world than we used to be, it is vital that adults are more aware, that we discuss this more, that we work together and make sure that we stand up to this type of bullying, all types, but specifically the cyberbullying that might go somewhat under the radar, being that Oftentimes, the young people will go on to their accounts that the parents don't even know about, and what's happening is not really discussed at home. So we as adults need to, whether we're educators or parents, need to even ask questions, pointed, direct questions, making sure that we know what's going on with the young people. It's very important that we're there to support, to make sure that we allow them to assert as well as they need to be asserting themselves, self-respect, to be respected.
And again, I don't mean to put you on the spot, Marcy, but from a legal perspective, give me your opinion, do you feel that legislative or legally or the laws that need to be changed or improved to deal with this delicate subject?
Well, interestingly enough, I have a student whereby his mother is a lobbyist, and she has helped to put in place various, I don't know if specifically it is a law here, but they're enforcing in certain educational environments that she went and lobbied for here. And I am finding out more about what she's doing, so I don't know actually specifics. I just have a basic idea that she's been doing something in the community. So I'm hearing that we are making steps, that people are making steps, and yes, as far as the answer to your question, unequivocally, we need to be doing whatever we can do, because this is something that needs to be addressed, and again, not being swept under the carpet. Silence is consent. It is vital, once again, that we discuss this, of course, in the legal atmosphere. Why not? Every atmosphere that we can to pull together is going to help the situation.
Definitely, and I won't keep you much longer because I know you've got another appointment, but Dr. Harper did mention, interestingly, Marcy, that we talked about the person that was being bullied, the bullier, and mentioned that there also, is a third party, the bystander. And I think I heard you mention that we have to come together as a community to address this delicate matter. So we want to congratulate you again. Keep up the good work, Marcy, and thank you for taking the time to call us here on the Victor Trevino Show. So thank you very much. Any final comments from you?
Just appreciate once again your having me, and thank you for all you're doing for the community. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much, Marcy Winters. And again, to you, ladies and gentlemen, Marcy Winters, a graduate from UT that majored in arts and also in TV. And she's got her Bachelor of Science in Radio, Television, and Film. So a film that was shown on PBS called Sweetwater, and also her book that she co-authored that was it Giraffe Juice? Giraffe Juice. So we want to congratulate her and keep up the good work. And back to my special guests that are here. Do we have another caller? Yeah. Oh, okay. Let me introduce them again for you at home. Mr. Guadalupe Valderas, Assistant Principal, Anderson Elementary. Thank you for being here, Guadalupe. Andrew Harper, Dr. Harper, Medical Director of the University of Texas, Harris County Psychiatric Center. Thank you, Doctor, for being here.
Thank you.
Jason Olson, Professional Wrestling Referee, Booker T, Reality of Wrestling. Thank you for being here. And we talked about, and again, the law sometimes can be a catchy scenario because we have what you call assault by threat, but to specifically say that bullying is addressed legally, I don't know that it is. I haven't heard of that. Maybe some of y'all can enlighten me, but I've looked it up and tried to see specifically, what is the definition of bullying in terms from the legal perspective. On the medical perspective, is there a definition?
Well, obviously I'm not an attorney, but I think what we think about as bullying behaviors are physical or verbal sort of threats or actions that are designed to humiliate, belittle, demean, I'm really glad the talker talked about the whole cyberbullying phenomenon, because it's, even home is not a safe harbor now, because our kids are on their devices constantly. You can get bullied in the wee hours of the morning. People are setting up websites and inviting others to come in and participate, and belittling and demeaning. So I think generally that's kind of what we look at. I know that there has been some movement in Texas and in other states, and probably you could tell us more about that. There is, I think, legislative directive to schools in terms of how they have to, what kinds of programs they have to have in place.
And I guess I apologize. I didn't mean to put you on the spot in terms of, because I should know the legal aspect. That should be my field. But I am not aware, and I guess maybe you at home, if any of y'all are aware, y'all can give us a call and enlighten me on that. But the fact is that bullying is a real new subject matter in terms of making it official, making it a definition, precise versus, again, it's been going on for years, whether it's out on the playground in school, or just walking down the sidewalk. In our neighborhood, the way we grew up is that you don't go to certain neighborhoods. That neighborhood is not there. If you're from Second Ward, don't go to Magnolia. If you're from Magnolia, don't go to North Side. All these neighborhoods. Or what we see like on West Side Story, these stories that you see on TV in the old days about the gangs. They all took care of their turf. Now, whether that was a form of bullying, because if anyone was innocent, didn't know nothing about the gangs, they just happened to be different from these individuals, they got picked on. Who are you? Where are you from? I mean, all that is a form of bullying that's been going around forever. But I think that what has happened, in my opinion, and y'all can expand on this, is that because of the recent tragedies that have occurred, whereas before these tragedies were not really identified as bullying, and it's been brought up now more in the attention of the spotlight in terms of the news, or it's a national subject. But today, to really say that there is laws, it's hard to, I think, really to construct a law that covers certain areas. Because we were distinguishing early, what is it that a youngster comes home and says, so-and-so called me a name.
Right.
Mm-hmm. They call me chubby. Or they call me something else. My grandson had real curly hair. And they would make fun of his hair. They call him curly. And he thought that was bad. I said, that's real cute, son. Curly, you got beautiful curly hair. You couldn't tell him that because he was offended.
Right.
And he had his mom cut his hair. Mm-hmm. And it was beautiful hair. But see, to him, that was offensive.
Right.
So I think that's where, how do we do it in the schools? How do you do it to say, don't talk about anybody's hair? How do we address those subjects?
Well, going back to the question about the legal aspect, I know that in 2011, the Texas, they passed the House Bill 1942, which is basically provided a definition of bullying, and is part of the Chapter 37, which is the discipline part of the law, the Texas Education Code. And of course, it also brought in the cyberbullying. That's what we've been talking about, the cyberbullying, where it's out there with the technology. And of course, there's a lot of cases out there. And of course, I know that one of the things that we used to do in the district is that whenever a child was bullied or something like that, we always, took that child out of that environment and put them in another environment. But now it's where, why punish that child? If I want to be in that school, then why do I have to go somewhere else? So now what we do is we give the option to the victim, if they want to stay there or they want to go somewhere else. And if they want to stay, then we take the bully out. And of course, one of the things that this happened with this House Bill 1942, it kind of, of course, HISD has always been very proactive. I mean, they it was always about gang awareness and everything. And of course, what they did was to, because sometimes the teacher always says, well, I don't know about it. I have never experienced it. Or, so the district they decided to train us. So it was two stages. It was two phases in which we did the training, we gave them an overview, and then they had to go online and do the training, so that way they'll be able to look for it. And now as they went through the training, now we're getting more cases in from teachers who are observing, because a lot of the students feel like the teachers are insensitive about it. you know, they feel like, you know, they're not reacting to their needs or, you know, to that type of bullying. But now we're being more proactive, and of course, you know, we're trying to, you know, prevent a lot of that stuff. But we are getting a lot of cases, and it's because of the training that we put our teachers through.
Good for y'all. Congratulations. Mr. Olson, professional wrestling referee.
Yes.
Tell me, is there any bullying in the ring?
There's plenty of bullying in the ring, but, you know, that's
But
a
I know
show.
that's part of the profession. That's part of the profession.
That's
So
part of the profession.
in a way, and maybe that's not the right word, bullying, because the professional art of wrestling or the sport of wrestling, there's a skill, there's training.
Absolutely.
And you use that skill and training to be able to become victorious, also to show your skills.
Right.
So it's not appropriate for me to use that term. And I wasn't trying to make fun of the delicate subject of bullying. I apologize. But, you know, I do want to distinguish for the audience that if you watch wrestling to understand the sport of it, the training, the skill.
There is tremendous respect in the ring.
Yes.
There is tremendous respect in the locker room. The minute that you're not respectful to everybody that's around you is the minute you leave. We just don't put up with that in our industry at all. And we do everything in our power, even though, you know, we may go out to the ring and portray a certain character and have a certain demeanor. There's a reason why it says, don't try this at home. Don't do this at home. Because it's supposed to be entertainment. It's sports entertainment. So,
And one thing is that I'm very fortunate, because I've always loved wrestling. I was fortunate to have a neighbor that when I came to this country, I had never seen wrestling. She would take me to the wrestling matches every Friday night, right there at the Coliseum. So I am very respectful of it personally, and very impressed with the talent. And I'll never forget the one reporter that was trying to ridicule one of the wrestlers. I can't think of his name, but he
is this fake?
He came, yes, and he did something and says, do you think this is fake?
Right.
And for folks, come on, if you watch any movie at the theater, you watch TV, you'll see some performances there that are performance. But the reality, a person is going to go into the wrestling ring. They have to be very prepared, very talented. The tragedy for some of them is, unfortunately, there's so much drilling and their training that some of them do suffer some serious injuries, which is a tragedy, but they continue, the wrestling field continues to try to be improving to make sure that it's safe. But wrestling is, to me, it's been a great sport, still is.
Absolutely.
And it's beautiful. I mean, it sells out everywhere in the country. You know,
Right.
We did have, I think, here recently, the death of a well-known wrestler.
Yes, Warrior.
But I wanted you to touch on that, because I want people at home to understand that wrestling is a sport, a lot of talent, a lot of skill, but they do portray a certain role that is part of the drama, that's part of the sport.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ultimate Warrior passing away this last week was a very big blow to the wrestling community. He had a very over-the-top style. Some of my fondest memories are of watching him at the age of 8 years old, running around the ring and shaking the ropes and body slamming guys. His promos and his interviews were just amazing, and they touched me on so many levels as a kid, even though I may not have really understood many of them back then. But watching him now from the perspective that I have, I really can see the talent that the man had. He was incredibly talented, incredibly intelligent. And like you said, it's entertainment, you know. Wrestling is supposed to be a way for people to kind of step out of their lives for a moment and get involved in the ring and kind of live with the guy that they're cheering on, you know, or kind of go, yeah, okay, you know, beat him down, whatever. As long as they're having fun, we're happy, you know. To touch back on bullying, and I do kind of want to bring up a question. You know, we've talked a lot about the victim here, the victim of bullying, but should we address the actual bully himself or herself? You know, like I touched on earlier, it's not really the victim that has the problem. It's the bully themselves that are performing that action. What are we doing as a community to help support those that are identified as bullies? That's kind of my question for y'all.
No, you're absolutely correct. I think that we need to identify, well, I'm going to give you my opinion, then I'll ask the experts in law enforcement, when we identify, you know, the person that's doing the bullying. To be proactive would mean to do programs in the schools in partnership with the different school districts to talk about it.
Right.
So that we can say to folks how to be more respectful. We role play with each other. There is ways to doing that. But, you know, unfortunately, the first thing you cut in government is programs that are proactive.
Yeah.
You know, programs that are that you're dealing with trying to prevent. You wait till the tragedy occurs, then you figure out how to invest money in it so you can appease the public. But in reality, to be proactive, you see, because when you put money into that and nothing's happening, no one's getting bullied, we don't see the success. It's not cost effective.
Right.
Why are you putting all this money to prevent bullying? And I'm not seeing no bullying.
Right.
People want to see it.
Yeah.
People do not go to a boxing or wrestling match to see them shaking hands with each other all the time.
Right.
They want the body slams. Mm-hmm. In boxing, you want it in football. You don't go see football without the knocking down, the tackle. That's the unfortunate thing in society.
Yeah. Absolutely.
If we invest money, and you can jump in, doctor.
Yeah, I was going to say, I said, you know, the bully doesn't live happily ever after
Right.
either. We know that they're at increased risk for drug and alcohol use at early age, for other criminal type behavior. They tend to, the chronic bulliers may not be successful academically and end up leaving school. They're at risk for abusing their spouses or partners or kids later in life, unfortunately, as well. And many times, as in lots of situations that involve a victim, the perpetrator has been victimized at some point in the past. So some bullies have also been victimized either at home or in the community, leading them to sort of try and gain some kind of mastery by finding their own victim and say, at least in this situation, I can be in charge.
And I think that for you at home, the fact is that if we get our kids involved in sports, you know, how we get involved with them is a big issue. If we go after our youngsters in terms of, why did you do that? Why didn't you hit him? You could have tackled him this way. Or in baseball, you know, we tell them things that are inappropriate as far as, why did you strike out? You're just, you know, you're a sissy. What are you doing? We start using these names in the basketball court. What is wrong with you? Why are you letting that guy push you? Push him back. You know, on the soccer field. Any sports, if we use that kind of approach, what's going to happen?
Right.
I mean, is the kid either he becomes reclusive, you know, gets in the shell, or he's going to explode. Either one is dangerous. And I just think for us as a society, we got to be more understanding. Let the kids have fun. I mean, am I saying something too complicated?
No.
And am I saying something too difficult?
No.
You know, I know we want to get into it. I know we want him to win, but can we do it in a manner that's just positive? Oh, good. Way to go, son. Way to go. Good for you. Good. Oh, if you strike out, don't worry about it, son. It's okay. It's all right. We'll get it next time. Have fun. Can we cheer like that? That's the challenge for us. Am I being too la-la and living in an idealistic world? What's wrong with that? Come on. You know, people always use that cliche when you don't want to do what is the right thing to do. Are you being too idealistic? Let's be realistic, Victor. You know, that's not what it's about. Well, make it realistic. We can do it.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to, you know, no disrespect. You don't have to be a teacher, you know, a referee or a PhD or a police officer. It's all of us as a community that are going to have to improve in being proactive, being realistic with idealistic thoughts. Idealistic thoughts of being positive, whether it's in sports or whether it's finding a parking space. And I was just about to get in there and someone cut in front of me. Do I just, hey, okay, let me go drive around again? Or am I going to get off and start being belligerent, being obnoxious to that person, but that was my parking space. You know, couldn't they see that I was waiting there? These are kind of realities that we, I think, as a society, and while we have the experts that can tell us the statistics, which are important, or from the medical perspective, or from the sports perspective, we need to, all of us, especially you at home, especially with our children. If the child is going to experience at home domestic abuse, what's going to happen to the child? Either one or two things. Either we go find a corner and hide,
or you're teaching that child is becoming socialized to understand that that's how dads treat moms, or that's how it's okay to hit or beat up somebody that you say that you love and you say that's important to you.
And now we got to be realistic now. It's also moms beating up dads.
Well, it's moms beating up moms, dads beating up dads. It's every
Yes.
combination you can think of. But it's that whole idea that, you know, you say that this is someone who's very important to you, but it's okay to slug them if they kind of get on your nerves.
Or brothers and sisters or brothers. Either way, the idea of getting physically aggressive or physically destructive with another human being, unless it becomes a sport and you're really trained and physically fit and understand the challenge, that's part of it. Not, you know, not in the schoolyard, or not in the grocery parking lot, not out on the street. Those are unacceptable, and those are things that I think we have to understand. Yes, I get upset sometimes because somebody cut me off the road, and right away I try to catch myself where, take a deep breath, and thank God they didn't hit me. I'm okay. No one's injured, and then we move on. That's proactive. You know, why wait for a disaster to occur and then, you know, it's going to be too late. There's nothing you can do about it. I mean, so those are realities that we have to deal with. We'll be right back. I don't know if we can go to can we go to our seniors? Yeah, let's go feature our seniors so we can showcase them. We're going to see some special birthdays.
It was the bottom of the ninth ended with 2 out. They continued to watch as the batter stepped up to the plate named Love. Love swung at the first pitch and hit a single because he never failed. The next batter was named Faith, who also got a single because Faith works with Love. The next batter up was named Garland Wilson. Safely wound up and threw the first pitch.
My name is Margaret. This is my 63rd birthday, but I'm trying to make it to 73. I hope that happens. And just want to say thank you.
Hello, my name is Patty Capers. I'll be 61 Thursday, and I hope God bless me to have many more. And along with my co-conspirators here at Kashmir.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Alfred Pittman. I'm glad to be here this morning. I'm thankful that the Lord wakened me out of my sleep again. You know, if the Lord don't wake you, you can't get up. So I'm thankful that I'm still alive and that I have another birthday. I'm 84 years old, to 17th of this month. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Abby Phillip. Thank God to be y'all or y'all. And thank God to let me live to be 93 years old. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Mary Arthur Cowling, and I'm just glad to be here today. And thank God for waking me this morning. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Charlie Hood, and I thank God for being here. I thank Him for the things He's been doing for me in my life. I've been coming to Sunday about 10 or 12 years. And I came down here. I just come in the evening. So my brother, he the one started me coming down here. And he told me he played domino down here. And so I decided to come on down here. The men that I used to play domino with, they opened their homes to me. So I enjoyed coming down here. Say I won't make none of y'all mad today. I'm trying to make y'all glad. On March the 23rd, I will be 75 years old.
Well, I'm hoping that you bring this back to me in another 2-3 years. I'm 94 years old just now. Blessed be you.
When I nod to you, you can sing Jesus is alive. Is that good enough? Is that simple enough for you? Makes me feel so good inside. Jesus is alive. Makes me feel so good inside. Jesus is alive. All right, come on.
Congratulations to all those youngsters at the Kashmir Multipurpose Center celebrating their birthdays. You know, as I always mention to you, birthdays is a very special celebration. It gives us the opportunity for us to reflect on the beautiful memories that we've made, but it's also an opportunity for us to plan the beautiful memories we're about to make. I mean, you heard some of those youngsters turning 93, 94, 75, 84. So congratulations and keep up the good work. Some of these centers, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great place for a lot of the senior citizens to get together. They socialize, they celebrate their birthdays. Sometimes they dance, they read poetry, they perform. It's very good to stay active no matter what age we are, but especially if we're getting up there in age, it's good for our mind and our body to work together so we can continue to build on that. So I salute Kashmir, keep up the good work. Now we're going to another birthday celebrations at this time.
I'm happy to be here with all my friends. It's Magnolia Center. Believe it or not, I'm 86 today, and I'm very happy to be here. Ojalá que se anime más gente a venir al centro porque es un centro muy magnífico. Gracias.
Yo soy Tomasa García, tengo 91 años, tengo 20 años de llegar aquí, de venir aquí a Magnolia, y los invito a que vengan porque se siente uno muy a gusto entre familia.
Primeramente, mi nombre es Consuelo Ramírez. Primeramente le doy gracias a Dios por la vida y el tiempo que me ha dado hasta ahora que cumplo mis 85 años. Seguiré pidiéndole a Dios para el bien de mi familia, mis hijos y también para venir a Magnolia Senior Center, porque este lugar de Magnolia me siento feliz y contenta con todas mis amigas, mis amigos. Tenemos muy buen tiempo y muy alegres. Tenemos bailes cada mes y que siga la música para seguir bailando.
Buenos días por este día que cumplimos años. Muchas gracias a la directora y al señor Trevino que viene a cumplir con nosotros y a todas nuestras compañeras que todas lo celebramos aquí. Gracias compañeras, soy Raimunda Padilla, gracias.
Muchas gracias por estar aquí con nosotros y muy amables por la celebración de los cumpleaños aquí y les agradecemos que nunca nos fallan. Que Dios los bendiga.
Muchas gracias por tener un día hermoso y bonito y doy gracias a Dios a todos ustedes y que seamos muy bendecidos, todos los que cumplimos años. Gracias, gracias.
And again, the Magnolia Center, we want to congratulate you for all the birthdays. They're having a good time there. And in Spanish, they were saying, happy birthday to themselves, to others, and how much fun they have coming together there at the center. And they invite other seniors that maybe do not want to come out. Because, another challenge that we have as a society, ladies and gentlemen, is that once we're getting up there in age, some of us just want to stay home. We don't want to go out for whatever reasons. We just, whether we're shy or we just don't want to share ourselves with others, or we don't want to be part of a group, whatever reasons. Some of these seniors, what they're letting other seniors know that it's so much fun. They go there and have a lot of fun. They go on outings together. They get to talk to each other and celebrate their birthdays, which they're very happy to do so. So congratulations to Magnolia Multipurpose Center on your celebration there of the birthdays. And back again to my special guest to reintroduce him again, Mr. Guadalupe Valderas, from Assistant Principal at Anderson Elementary. Okay. Thank you for being here, Guadalupe. Andrew Harper, Dr. Harper, Medical Director, University of Texas, Harris County Psychiatric Center. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
And Jason Olson, Professional Wrestling Referee, Booker T's Reality of Wrestling. Thank you. And we were talking while we were watching the senior's birthday about the fact that the bullier, we don't do enough to see how we can deal with them, to see how we can also be proactive or to change them around. Can they come around? You know, instead of always dealing or waiting to let the legal system deal with them, can we as a society, if it's something that is not that severe, that no one's injured, and we can deal with this bullier, and you brought up a good question. Doctor, what do you say?
Yeah, I think there are opportunities with the bully. I think that the systems to help the bully are not in place in the way that we want them to be. I think the bully has to be accountable for his or her behavior, but the legal system is not the mental health system. And unfortunately, there's been some overlap, I think, in those two systems. And I think one of the things I would say for the bully is to try and help that individual identify his or her strengths, helps them sort of channel their energy. Maybe physical activity is the way they handle aggression or their frustration. Get them into a program where they can channel that in an appropriate way. It could be some kind of sport, some kind of other activity, but help them identify strengths and ways that they can be successful other than being the bad guy. They're good at being the bad guy, but what are their other strengths and ways they could be successful?
Again, we haven't touched on this, but a while back I know it was an issue. Does the media, does the movie industry, TV, the music industry, does that have an influence on being the bad guy? And the fact that the bad guy is glorified. You know, you get more attention when you're the bad guy. The good people don't get attention.
Right. It may have if you look at the data, it's kind of mixed. And I know a lot of people have very strong feelings about that. But really, the mitigating factor seems to be the degree of supervision in the home and how much parental oversight is happening in the home, and then how much adult supervision the child has in his or her day. And that's a very powerful sort of mitigator of any exposure. Of course, we always recommend not exposing, particularly very young kids. The influence of exposure seems to be greater the younger the child is. But so limiting exposure is the first intervention, and then the second is making sure the child is in some kind of structured, supervised environment.
I mean, because I don't know if y'all remember, you know, watching some of the cartoons, but even the cartoons that little kids watch have some violence in them. And they have some scenarios that, while we want grown-ups to understand some sports and what they watch on TV, how can you have a young person understand they're watching a cartoon where they're hitting each other on the head, or the little one is able to cross the street with all these cars passing and not one car hits the child? Has there been any indicators that has an impact on the young child?
Well, I mean, I was reflecting on some of that stuff as far as what's happening. I know that you know, as far as the supervision, which is true, because I mean, whenever you take a little boy to the store, I mean, and what's the first thing they want? They want a gun. And what's the first thing that we do? We buy them a gun. And then at the same time, you know, if there's not supervision while you're watching TV, there's a lot of action that happens in there. And if you're not there to tell the child, hey, that's not right, you know, and you shouldn't be doing that, then of course the child is going to take it, it's okay. And I know that there's a lot of, where they imitate. You know, for example, in wrestling, you know, you had that case where that young fella killed a sister or a cousin like that by body slamming her, you know, and he had to go through the judicial system. But, you know, a lot of the little kids, if they're not being supervised, if they're not being told, you know, this is not right, of course, they're going to imitate a lot of that.
So the data really isn't there. I think we just want for you at home to understand the important thing that I think everyone's saying here is that your supervision is the important aspect there.
Absolutely.
You being able to explain to them, this is just a cartoon. We don't really do this.
Right.
Okay? This is entertainment. This is TV. And that child will, my opinion, they'll grow up understanding that. So they can enjoy the entertainment. They're not going to imitate them. But this is the challenge for us as grown-ups. If you hear music that talks about, violence, to let them know it's just the music entertainment part. You don't live by that music. And that's why we live in America, that it's a free society where you can express yourself, but it doesn't mean that we copy it, we mimic it. Not when it's violent, not when it's disrespecting or trying to hurt someone else. I think everyone has expressed that. We just want you at home to understand it, because we'll get into a conversation and we'll start even in politics. We talk about politics, how divisive it is. Some say how destructive. They'll say that's the problem with our country. It's the politics. But yet, we're the envy of the rest of the world. Everyone wants to come here. And I'm saying that in a general statement. I'm not, saying it's for real, but you can see the situation we have with immigration, etc. So we again thank you for inviting us, and we want to have some final comments from our special guest. We've run out of time, but we've got time for some last-minute comments. Mr. Olson, Jason.
Well, thank you for allowing me to come in and talk today. I think this is a very important topic to our community. I really appreciate everyone listening to me. All I can say is if you're the victim of someone who's bullying you, just know that it's not your fault. I touched on this earlier, but it's really not you. It's something going on with that bully. And, just believe in yourself, have faith, and I guarantee you life gets so much better once you get out of that situation.
Well said. Thank you. Dr. Harper?
I would say, I think, just sort of to have this sense of community, that this is a community issue and that we all have to come together to handle this. The schools, the legal system, the health system, I think that's going to be the key. And I think we've talked a lot about problems at school, but we really have to give schools credit. Really, schools are a very safe place. These terrible things that we hear happening at schools are very rare, even though we hear a lot about them when they occur, but they're isolated events. And schools we have to give them their credit.
And they deserve it, because they've made a lot of progress, as you have heard from Mr. Valderas, Assistant Principal at Anderson Elementary. Final comments?
Oh, yes, we are as safe as we can make it. I mean, that's our main goal is a safe environment that's going to be conducive to learning. And of course, like we were talking about, we are at the education part so far. We're barely starting everything as far as it's been identified. It's been given a definition. It's been given us some examples of what some of the bullies are and so forth. But we need to really look into we need to look more into helping the bully. We need to find more services for them. Because or else they're going to end up doing the same thing. And if you look at the data, they usually end up in prison.
And to you, ladies and gentlemen, let's learn to continue to be a part, as you've heard from all of us here, of the solution, not part of the problem. It's easy to point fingers at others and blame others, but it's a free society. That means we can participate in being part of the solution. Let's continue to work on that. We have made a lot of progress, believe it or not. But yes, we still need to talk about these challenges. Bullying is one of them, especially with the new technology. That is the most, I think, the newest area we have to look at. So thank you very much. Have a happy Easter. We'll see you next week.